Right, now let's turn to, well, big event last week, of course, when we had the Cass report published saying, well, all the stuff that I've been saying and many other activists have been saying for quite a few years now about the absolute horror of what's been going on in places like the Tavistock clinic, where we have seen children, supposedly trans children, no such thing as that, seeing them put on puberty blockers, affecting their health, their mental health, physical health for years to come, and even seeing mutilation of their bodies, all in the name of a political ideology. And so Dr. Hilary Cass, the paediatrician overseeing that report for 4 years, saying, look, there was, well, an incredible situation where people were silenced because of the toxicity of the debate, although that toxicity was only on one side, shutting people like me down. Well, the Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, one of her briefs, has stepped in to the fray on this and has slammed the cowardice of public institutions for allowing gender ideology to take over. It's in the wake of that landmark report. She has called for more bravery and less cancel culture. Couldn't agree with her more. Joining me right now to discuss this is psychoanalyst and a former governor of the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust, Marcus Evans. Thank you so much for joining us, Marcus.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you, of course, are one of the, let's go with this, goodies as opposed to baddies in all of this, as someone who spoke out, a whistleblower, who said that what is going on is wrong. We are doing the wrong thing by these children, and you spoke out. And, of course, you know, you, like many people who spoke out, immediately branded a bigot and a transphobe and cast from polite society. But, my God, thank you for people like you doing the right thing. Kemi Badenoch is one of also the goodies. She's someone as a politician who has spoken out on this issue, stood firm on this issue for many, many years. But do you believe that we have got effectively cowardice in politics, in the police, in schools, and particularly in the NHS when it comes to this issue, and people simply haven't spoken up when they should have?
Well, James Kirkup wrote an article in The Spectator in 2019 saying he'd never known in 30 years of political journalism, he'd never known a group of people get hold of the political agenda so effectively. Yeah. And it's been extremely unhelpful. My wife actually was the first whistleblower in 2005. What we didn't know was that the then medical director wrote a very critical report, basically heralding everything that Dave Bell, another colleague of mine who wrote a report, and Hilary Cass have said. The problem has been why the sort of 18-year delay. Well, the fact is that, as you say, things get shut down, and people like myself who are raising questions, that the argument always is there's two sides to the argument. But as you said, Julia, the problem is you've got a sort of fundamentalist state of mind in which beliefs can't be challenged on one side, and then you've got clinicians who work on the basis of research and clinical evidence on the other. So we're really not talking the same langue.
No. You can't win against an ideology because you'll just get shouted. And also, we know people were silenced, people losing their jobs for raising this. But this is the interesting thing, as you say, your wife was, I remember talking to you about, you both about this, one of the first whistleblowers. I've been talking about this for, well over a decade. And it is extraordinary that I read, the Cass report, there was actually pretty much nothing in it that I didn't already know. Well, I'm not a clinician, I'm not an expert medic, and I knew a load of this stuff. We knew there was no evidence for this stuff. We knew there was no long-term studies. We knew that the vast majority of young people who were going and saying they think they're born in the wrong body had mental health issues, they had autism or other severe learning disabilities. Largely the massive explosion in the young girls going to the Tavistock and other clinics were girls who were most likely lesbian. And this was all known, and yet people didn't act. Like, you worked with a lot of these people. What was their motivation? What did they think they were doing? Did they think that they were doing good?
The thing is that, you see, when the kids are in a lot of distress, and so are the families. And obviously, as a health professional, you want to take that pain away. The problem is, as we know, that sometimes short-term solutions have got long-term problems attached. I mean, a bit like the opioid crisis in America, you give something to take the pain away, but as a responsible medical person, you're supposed to think about the sort of complicated problems beneath, as you mentioned. A lot of these kids have got comorbid problems, and that these short-term solutions have got very painful and serious long-term consequences. So I think it's the leadership that's really at fault. You've got a lot of young workers working on these teams, and it's the leadership that's at fault. And one of the things that is an ongoing problem was the over-close relationship between the clinical service and the trans charities.
Yeah,
that's
Stonewall, mermaids, people like that who were just pushing
Absolutely.
this political agenda. And again, that becomes, it starts on the premise that you believe that children genuinely are born in the wrong body. Now, I don't accept that. I think that's unicorns and nonsense. It's simply not true. And that meant we were treating people in a completely different way. Has the Cass report been a game changer? I was amazed to see, Labour politicians who would have happily called me a bigot to my face for speaking out about this issue, who were suddenly saying, yes, I accept this report, it was all fine, even though there's no new information in it. It's a fantastic report, but nevertheless, is it a game changer? Are we going to see things change? Or has as Kemi Badenoch says, has the hold that this ideology and these organisations, often funded, by the way, by taxpayers' money, has the hold that they've got on our institutions, on the civil service, NHS, is that so great? Are those tentacles now so ingrained in our sort of public services that actually it's not going to change anything?
I'll let other people talk about the wider situation, but clinically, as I say, the whistleblowers were dismissed as bigots or this argument about two sides of the argument. But the fact is the whistleblowers were just going against the current belief system just practicing ordinary mental health medicine. I've been in mental health for 45 years. I've never been called a bigot. I don't come from that sort of position. My interest is thinking clinically. The thing about Cass is her credentials, she's got no skin in the game. Yeah. Her credentials are copper bottom. She'd looked at all the research objectively and categorically come to the conclusion, as many of us have said previously, there is no evidence for this treatment. And I think that's a huge thing. I do think she's a game changer.
Well, I certainly hope so. I really do, for all those children's sake. The big worry, of course, is, you can't get puberty blockers and get onto that railroad track towards, body mutilation and a life of misery on the NHS in England. But you can still do it in Scotland, and you can still go to a private clinic and do it. We need to ban these for under 18s, full stop, don't we?
Well, my wife is taking a second judicial review. She started the first, and then Kira Bell, as someone who'd actually been affected by the treatment, rather than my wife who worked in the service and then resigned from it. She's taking a second judicial review, really challenging the CQC's giving licences to private clinics for cross-sex hormones. So
excellent. Well, we'll have to get her on. Have a word with her. We'll give her a call. Do. Marcus, thank you so much, and thank you for being so brave and speaking out. You're a good man, Marcus Evans. Appreciate that. Former head at the Tavistock clinic where those awful events have been taking place. Still with me, Sam Armstrong. Kemi Badenoch has been a really good soul on this. Unlike the Penny Mordaunt, trans women are women. Gillian Keegan, Education Secretary, trans women are women. Kemi Badenoch has always stood firm on this issue, but she's right. This is basically, capture by Stonewall and mermaids and these trans ideologists.
Yeah, Kemi has been a hero, but the question is, why did she ever need to be? For 15 years, near enough, the Conservative Party's been in office.
Have they?
And
we've had a Conservative government. Well, someone should have told us.
You can tell from the low taxes and cuts to immigration.
That'll be it.
And efficient public services.
That'll be it.
But look, it's another area where politicians have just been too cowardly to grip the social phenomena that come by. And there's too many politicians that think they're downstream from culture, as they say. Yeah. It's a bad instinct.
Absolutely. Sam Armstrong, thank you very much indeed. Give me a chuckle on a difficult news day.